Hey, what's up, guys? This is Elo Speaks back again with another video, and in this topic, I wanted to talk about the Suns versus Bucks finals finale. Now, as we know, the Milwaukee Bucks are the new NBA 2021 champions. They defeated the Phoenix Suns in a great fashion. It was a great finals victory for them, and it was a great finals overall. At first, I didn't really particularly was too fond of the finals because of I felt like it was a lopsided matchup. I did have the Phoenix Sun winning the NBA championship because I wasn't too sure about the Milwaukee Bucks health concerns as regards to Giannis Antetokounmpo and as regards to that, but they tested the knee in game one. He kind of, took it slow, but then after game two through game six, he went off and running, and he ended up winning in a blaze of glory. And congratulations to him. I wanted to talk about, the effects of what this final win does for the Milwaukee Bucks and the NBA overall. I felt like this was a great victory for not only the Milwaukee Bucks, but for NBA overall and the NBA Finals, because I know people are a little bit tired of the super team era as regards to, the Lakers and the Nets and, Kevin Durant and LeBron James, like player making these super teams and, forming them and trying to compete for championships. While the super teams are exciting to a degree, it does kill the level of competition and make it lopsided for maybe only a few teams to be able to win an NBA championship. And that's not good for business in terms of the NBA, because it's like if you're gonna have 30 teams, it's like what's the point of the other 29 or 26 teams if there's only 2 to 3 or 4 teams that could actually contend for a title? And that's not good for business. Every team, even the sorry team ones, I feel like they have an opportunity to compete for a title if need be, if they have the talent around them. But if other teams like the Nets and the Lakers continue to stack up superstars on one particular team and dominate throughout the decade, then it's just bad for basketball. Now the ratings go up because people still like to watch those super teams compete, but overall it's just bad because other small market franchises are going to suffer because of that, because they don't have the market value or the glamour style of the city to lure players in to sign with them in free agency, and they have to go through the draft and then worry about that particular star player or athlete leaving in free agency and going to a big market franchise to play for another team like New York, LA, Miami, Dallas, those type of teams, and continue for a title. And that's not good for business, even though other people like that, especially the mainstream medium. They love when a particular athlete goes to a big market franchise and could try to compete for a title because it brings more news, more stories, more narratives, so far and so forth. Now, again, I want to congratulate the Milwaukee Bucks on winning the NBA championship. It was a slightly well-deserved championship. I do understand that they did slide by the Nets in terms of how that series worked. I felt like that was a championship series right there because Kevin Durant almost beat them, and it was safe to say if his toe was just a centimeter off from the three-point line, he would have ended their season. And even before that, if Kyrie Irving and James Harden were healthy, I think it's safe to say that they would have defeated the Bucks in 5 or 6. I think they would have beat them in 6. But again, that's just my personal opinion on that. But I don't want to take too much away from the Milwaukee Bucks. They still deserve that championship. They beat who was in front of them, regardless of the circumstances. But as regards to that, I want to change my focus to the Milwaukee Bucks to the Phoenix Suns. Now, when media narratives were going around as regards to the Phoenix Suns and their playoff run, I looked at it, as okay, they're going to the finals, they're winning, they're beating the Lakers, they're beating the Nuggets, they're beating the Clippers, and then they'll go to the finals. And people already had the narratives in their mind that the Phoenix Suns were going to win the NBA Finals. Me too, but the way that they thought that they were going to win is that they were just going to dominate Milwaukee or the Hawks or whoever came out the East, and that's not how the NBA works. There's always going to be a battle. I thought that the Nets, I mean, not the, my mistake. I thought the Suns was going to at least beat Milwaukee in 6, but that wasn't the case. They ended up losing in 6. But the way people kept on saying that the Phoenix Suns are they're one of the best teams in the playoffs. They're being led by Chris Paul. They're being led by DeAndre Booker, DeAndre Ayton is a beast, and like all that was true at the time. And then crazy narratives started coming out that really disgusted me at the time. And one of those narratives was that Chris Paul is the point guard, and Chris Paul's a top 5 point guard, and Devin Booker is the next Kobe, and stuff like that. I was like, what? What? No. Let's slow it down. Let's pump the brakes. Like I didn't want to I don't want to damp on the Phoenix Suns playoff run, but somebody has to be real. Only a few media pundits on these sports shows were slightly real, but they kept up with the narrative. And one of the narratives that they kept on saying, oh, look who they defeated on the way to the finals. But to keep it a buck, the Phoenix Suns didn't deserve to be in this NBA title, the finals. They didn't deserve to be there. They went through a plethora of injuries, specifically superstar injuries, star injuries. Now I know that's not their fault, and they play who was in front of them, just like the Milwaukee Bucks. But you can't tell me that if the circumstances were changed and everyone was healthy, that the Phoenix Suns would have made the NBA Finals. There's no way you could convince me that they would have made it there. First round out the gate, LeBron James and AD are not healthy. LeBron James is dealing with a ankle injury from the regular season, so he's not fully 100%. I would say he's around 70-80%. And then on top of that, AD has a groin injury throughout the series. And we see how AD was playing when he was healthy. He dominated the Phoenix Suns with DeAndre Ayton on the floor. So I don't want to hear about none of that. If LeBron and AD was healthy, they would have defeated the Phoenix Suns and move on to the next round. That's that. And then after that, their next playoff run, going to the second round, they face the Denver Nuggets without Jamal Murray. Now, this one is kind of tricky because in some cases, I could see the Phoenix Suns winning this series against the Denver Nuggets, but because of Nikola Jokic being undermanned without Jamal Murray, we'll never know. Now, even with Jamal Murray, I think they probably could have pulled out the series, maybe 6-7 game series, and Phoenix wins. They eke out the win and go to the next round. So I'll give them that. Even though they did sweep the Denver Nuggets, so I want to give them credit for that. So I'll say that let's just say the Phoenix Suns beat them in 6 and make it to the next round. Now you have the Los Angeles Clippers, and Kawhi Leonard is out for the rest of the series. Now, granted, I want to be fair and say that Chris Paul was out for 2 games of the series, but the Phoenix Suns were able to win 2 games without him being in COVID protocol, so it kind of evens out and becomes fair at that point. And I want to give credit to the Phoenix Suns for winning those 2 games without Chris Paul, even though he was in COVID protocol. But again, with him being out and Kawhi Leonard being out basically throughout the whole series with a partial ACL tear, that was a huge hurdle for the Phoenix Suns to basically be finals bound after that. They just had to close out and defeat Paul George. And, Paul George is undermanned and he couldn't do it by himself. They had to have a great performance against the Utah Jazz with a guy named Terrence Mann, who went balls to wall and missed only a few shots when he was going crazy against them to make it to the next round. So I could tell that it was going to be underhand and undermanned in terms of the Phoenix Suns to try to defeat them. Now, we move to the NBA Finals, and this is the first time that the Phoenix Suns is playing a relatively healthy, fully team with their superstar on the court, and that's where we see what Phoenix really is. Now, granted, they're a good team. somewhat borderline great team, where they're relatively young, they're raw, they need a little bit more experience, and it showed after game two. After game two, it was on. Like Giannis, Milton, Drew Holiday, they showed true grit and showed them like, yo, these guys can't play with us, they can't contend with us, they're not better than us, and they proceeded to defeat them 4 games straight and straight dominated them. Even on the road, at home, whatever, it didn't matter. They were imposing their physical will on the Phoenix Suns and showing them like, yo, you cannot beat us on your best day. They shut down Chris Paul. They made it tough for Booker, and they just what's his name, Greek Freak. He straight up manhandled DeAndre Ayton, manhandled him, just dominated him from top to bottom. He was just the superior player. Now, those guys lost, and that's what happened. Another thing that I wanted to talk about is I felt like there wasn't enough Chris Paul scrutiny. Before the finals even started, people was already anointing the Suns as the champions, already putting Chris Paul in their top 5. I want to criticize him because he doesn't deserve to be a top 5 point guard all the time. If he would have won this championship and win Finals MVP, then sure, he would have moved up in the top 5. But so far, no, he's not in the top 5. He's a top 10 point guard of all time. Is he one of the best? Sure. Is he a point guard? No. I still have Magic Johnson as the best point guard ever in NBA history as in terms of passing, rebounding, scoring. He could do all. He's 6'8". He could do it all. He's the best point guard all-around player. So I don't want to hear nothing about him being a top 5. He had a horrible playoff series. He got shut down by Drew Holiday. He had that first great game where he dropped over 30 points and they dominated the Milwaukee Bucks game 1. But each game that passed by, he started to fade away, and they had to rely on ISO game with Devin Booker going one-on-one with whoever in front of him, where he had to drop 2 back-to-back 40-point games, and they could have possibly won one of those games if it wasn't for Chris Paul having one of the worst finals performances in his career, like scoring I think 9-10 points. You're not gonna win a finals like that. So that's Chris Paul's fault. He deserves scrutiny for that. I don't want to hear nothing about him being top 5. I don't care that he made it to the finals. There's a whole bunch of players that were great superstar talent that didn't win an NBA Finals, and I don't have Chris Paul over those guys. I don't have Chris Paul over Magic Johnson. I don't have Chris Paul over John Stockton, Jason Kidd. I don't even have him over Steve Nash, Oscar Robertson, Steph Curry. No, he's not better than none of those guys. And what he could possibly elevate to maybe, but he needs to win a championship. He doesn't have an MVP. What type of accolades does he have to make an argument that he's up there with one of those guys? We already know Magic has 5 championships, multiple MVPs. Steph Curry has 3 championships, 2 MVPs. Oscar Robertson has a championship. Jason Kidd has a championship. Steve Nash has an MVP. We can make the argument, and Jason Kidd, so far and so forth. But when it comes to Chris Paul, he's a great point guard. He's a great floor general, facilitator of the basketball, great leader. But when it comes to like the echelons of top point guards, he's not up there with those guys, and that's what I feel about it on the matter. I don't want to hear any talks about them. He deserves all the scrutiny that he got. People thought he was going to be guaranteed a championship because of the status with Giannis Antetokounmpo being hurt, and that if that would have been the case, that Giannis Antetokounmpo wasn't healthy because of the hyperextended knee, that would have been horrible, because that would have been a bigger asterisk on the championship because of all the star and superstar injuries that had to happen just for this team to win a championship. And I was going to call bullshit on that, and that's what I think about it in terms of matter. But let me know yours down in the comment section down below. This is Edo Speaks out.